Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Uh,
Hello, hello.
I
Hi,
can
One Feather.
I can definitely hear you, and I am very excited about joining you today as we're watching the world awaken.
It's a wonderful view from this side anyway.
Yeah, it's a chilly view from my side. It's really kind of insane. We normally, like yesterday, was I don't know 84, 85 degrees and hot and sweaty and high humidity, and then Uh, last night, rain moved through the region, and today it's only about 55. You can believe that.
Well, I expect wind and cold if I go to Chicago.
Oh, well, Chicago has that other side, which is hot, sweaty, and nasty. And that's generally pretty much the month of August and half of September.
Oh, yeah.
But for some reason today, we seem to be experiencing a premature little dance of autumn in our universe here.
Hmm. Yeah, I think summer's not long enough around here. It's like almost over already. And going back to winter. Oh, geez.
Well, it's when you get up in that altitude, that definitely alters your reality, or at least your imagined reality, somewhat dramatically.
Yeah, when I first moved here, I noticed how closer the moon was. I was like shocked. It's like it looks like twice the size.
That
I
is awesome.
Yeah, it's closer. So that means more people are more emotional around here.
Ah, so the lunatics are out. In other words, that's what you
Well,
call
it
it.
is it is the capital of antidepressants
Really?
in the entire world. Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of
But
a
I think that corresponds with Family City USA as well.
hmm.
With all the kids. Crazy kids.
Well,
Uh,
I think it's just I think it's just more opportunities to be involved in that forgiveness um, process. And so,
Forgiveness when you got pills.
well, you can take your pill and forgive yourself for taking a pill.
Yeah, true. Okay. You got to slip it in somewhere, don't you?
That's true. Yeah, everybody needs a pill at least once or twice a week. And, Rockin' Joe Crocker, the rotating rocker, used to sing about I get by with a little help from my friends. And we all know who those friends were.
Oh, do we? I don't.
Oh, well,
That's,
Joe and quite a few
specifically.
of that circuit where they would carry fishing tackle boxes filled with every pill and, um, hashish and all those things. So wherever they showed up, they had a pharmacy with them at all times. And that was a prevalent thing in the 60s and 70s and
I
80s,
believe
and I
it.
imagine it's probably still pretty much the same scenario in that circle.
Now we can retranslate that song to being something about mighty companions, right?
That would be the appropriate direction to take it, to grow out of our childish inclinations with all of the crazy stuff that we give power to. If you give power to the red pill or the blue pill or the green pill or any pill, then you're taking power away from yourself.
Yeah. Or that red, white, and blue pill, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the more nefarious ones. That that pill that's labeled patriot on it is one that will get you into trouble. So it's only one world here, people, and if you don't recognize that, then you know then I'm not doing my work, because I'm supposed to be bringing forth that truth in my own consciousness so that I see it reflected in the world I step into each day.
Yeah, things definitely supply a cushion, I would say, that when you're using anything, even caffeine or even vitamin C, it just helps you a little bit. But at the same time, thinking it is that thing that is helping you, that coffee or that vitamin C or that acid or that shroom or, or anything that really, if you think it's coming from that and not really kind of this contract you have with it to open up and help you to open up that doorway, even some numbing pill or something, that I don't even know, antidepressants or something, then yeah, it's really your own gift, your own power that is giving it power and making it happen, and that it really isn't going to happen without your approval. And it's actually this nocebo effect is applied, as well as the placebo effect, which is the opposite. Placebo effect is when you believe in something to do something when it is just a sugar pill or doesn't have any effect at all. And a nocebo effect, which is now being discovered that is actually occurring, is when you believe something that is supposed to work and has worked time and time again, you believe it doesn't work for you and is nothing. You think it is the sugar pill, and then it acts as if it is the sugar pill, which is just remarkable when you realize that the mind has so much power to do such a thing, to literally deny the ability for it to be whatever it is and do whatever it's society and deemed to be possible to do.
Yes, and that takes us back to that beautiful image from the Beatitudes when Jesus is telling people, take no thought for what you shall eat. And then later on, when he sent out his disciples, he basically restated that, saying, wherever you go in this world, in your mission, eat what's on the plate in front of you. Don't worry about it. Just be there, be present, be a part of life. And I also thought that was such a beautifully remarkable statement on his behalf, because the Jews back then and still currently have like over 650 rules and regulations, laws about what you can eat, how you can eat, when you can eat it. So they have this insane set of structures around the whole concept of eating. And Jesus walks into the party and says, don't worry about it. If you want to have a cheeseburger with bacon and lots of extra lard on the side, it's not going to harm you. And it's not the way to heaven. That's not the route we take to get to heaven.
Yeah, I read this other book called Theoubin Prophecy, and it's pretty short. It's pretty amazing, but it talks about at one point where all the animals have come from and what planets they have come from, as well as the different races of people actually came from different planets. And it says about Jews came from a further uh, higher vibrating dimension and accidentally came here, and they actually brought the pig with them, and had suggested that they evolved from the pig, and that's why they have that whole idea. But it's just another idea, another set of ideas that to me is entertaining of seeing that.
It absolutely is.
Some people around here think we've evolved from crowfish or lobsters and stuff, and don't eat those things. And it's funny that what since when was cannibalism bad? Just kidding.
Well, speaking of that, that's a dark subject if there ever was one, at least in this mortal realm. But If you've ever gone over, I think it's I-70 or I-80, getting you over to the San Francisco region, you'll go over Donner's Pass, and you'll move through that area right near Lake Tahoe, right north of Tahoe. And the Donner Party and Donner's Pass is a pretty grim story, pretty grim situation. And yet, when push comes to shove, if somebody croaks and you're snowed in for the winter, there's no food, that frozen body outside the back door starts to look pretty good when you've lost 30 pounds and you start to drag yourself around. So, cannibalism is not well looked upon, and yet it has been the source of rescuing us in dire times. So again, it's all this convoluted, whacked out dream that we have created.
Yeah, and I could understand, especially when you identify with the body. And I've never been put into that position, but actually, I got my middle name Jesse from another party, which was part of the Mormon pioneers coming over from the east, leaving Missouri and coming over to Utah, and they left really late and ended up being stuck in the Devil's Gate in Wyoming in the winter, and they almost died. And yet, I think a few of them were protecting others from coming into that same idea of cannibalism and eating their dead parents or something. But a young child survived, as well as a few others, and it was my so odd great 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 grandfather. Uh, his name's Jesse anyway. I don't remember his whole name, but I'm proud to say that yeah, I got that name from someone. Oh, I think you're muted. I don't hear you. Is your button gonna work?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's again kind of a parallel to the Donner story, and it's like every party. You can talk about the party. This party of people were traveling over the mountainside. Most parties turn out to be a pity party at some point. So
Yeah, they don't have that pharmacy box in that party, so that's
yes,
they didn't have the help of those friends. Darn.
yeah, and it's actually not only is it really kind of pathetic and tragic, but you can see the humor in almost everything that we put so much emphasis on as being, good or bad or right or wrong. And it goes back to Shakespeare's statement, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And that's where it happens, is in our mind.
It's true. I remember coming to that conclusion, recognizing that, and confronting my dad before A Course in Miracles. The whole idea of, if God created everything, didn't he create the so-called darkness and evil and that the devil now is in charge of or something? And it didn't all make sense. And then the whole idea of, well, if God said let there be light, then that means he was in darkness before that, wasn't he? So what? It's like it all stretches from very strange ideas. It's like we're trying to comprehend, for one, something that is incomprehensible and the beginning of all existence. It didn't consist of time and space as we think of it now, and so the whole structure of it, and thinking of putting the laws of the physical world of light and dark and everything on top of that, it completely misunderstands from the beginning.
Absolutely. In Genesis, we have two different stories of creation. And, in Genesis 1, we have man created in the image and likeness of God, which of course is spiritual man, the Christ, or that which we are. And then the second creation that is given to us is talking about God who's stumbling around on the planet, and he picks up a handful of dirt and puts some spittle in it and makes a mud man, and breathes life into the mud man. And then all of a sudden it occurs to him, well, damn, this guy's going to be there alone. Maybe I should do something about that. So he puts Adam to sleep and grabs a rib and makes a mud woman to be the mud man's companion. And after you read that story about Genesis, that story about creation, you kind of walk away from that scenario thinking, God, he must be kind of incompetent. Maybe he's so old that Alzheimer is setting in, and he's fiddling around with these little golem, these little mud men that he has animated.
I just see this, drunken kung fu master walking around. Like, I don't even know. Let's make a person here. That'd be awesome.
Yes, and that's what makes the world go round and round and round. And then, of course, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims are all fighting over which mudman story is appropriate. And, they get into a tiff over simple things like, well, a lot of Christians really get inflamed when you show up and say Allah instead of God or whatever, Jehovah. Then I point out to them that Jesus, in fact, when he was doing his teaching, did not speak Hebrew. You only spoke Hebrew when you were in the temple. And so when he was out with the people, he was speaking Aramaic, actually Galilean Aramaic, and or Jewish Aramaic with a Galilean accent. And so when he would say God, he probably would have said one of two things. He would have said Abba, which is the Father, or he would have said Allah, which is God. So, and you turn that loose on some of these Christians out there, and they kind of plunge into a nosedive, and they will attack you. So make sure that you're aware of that when you're out there.
It's a strange.
Ruminating.
Sorry, it's a strange coincidence when you hear that God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna. There's a strange pattern there. Ra, Jehovah. Well, that one's a little different, I guess.
Well, they all end on that kind of an A sound.
Yeah.
So if you really want to throw a monkey wrench in that, when you're speaking of the divine, just say Om. Om.
Om is the sound of the frequency of the physical world, or the spiritual nature of the physical world, and to say is the sound of God, is a higher sense in which it became ascended. Om, saying God, Allah, and home. Home, I come home.
And that's where we dwell, in the windmills of our minds. It just goes on and on and on. You can see those baffles slowly turning with a gentle breeze. So you're usually thinking, even when you're thinking that you're not thinking. And that's
what I was.
Bottom line.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Life. It's an interesting thing, it's definitely here to train us for something, and even just our thinking to correspond a little bit more, a little bit better with reality, instead of this obsession that we have with physicality. For an example, like just the other day, well, for weeks now, I've been not shaving and not getting a haircut like I want to, and I've been keep saying that. I'm like, oh, it's so hot. I want to get a haircut. Oh, what am I doing growing this out? And then the day I looked in the mirror and realized, you know, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I am supposed to be growing it out right now. And I just, found this sense of relaxation and acceptance in it all of a sudden. My stepkids and wife even started referencing, "Hey, you gonna get a haircut? Hey, you should shave," and all this stuff. "Hey, shave." And I'm like, "Of course," right when I accept that I'm not going to, all of a sudden it's as if, as if the symbols were used of attempting to be in this mindset of just acceptance instead of insisting I know what I'm doing and insisting, I know I should shave or not, and be trimmed and groomed and all this stuff. That it's going off basis of definition instead of just being in that mindset of, oh, this is how it is. Oh, this is how it is. Just accepting it. And then once I got there, it's like, okay, the universe is confirming you have permission to shave now. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad look. You look like a painting of Jesus by one of the Dutch masters from the 14th or 15th century there. So it is not an unbecoming look. But I would say, as a little bit of advice about the mortal experience, enjoy playing with that while you can, because eventually you'll lose a lot of it on the top of your head. The hair will start coming in prolifically in your nose and ears, and then it's generally, kind of a downward spiral from that point. So if you take pleasure in playing around with your hair, then do it, because there
Yeah.
will probably be a time when it won't be quite as easy to manage.
I say the same thing now to people that are growing their hair out and they have long. I did it while I was on my travels. My hair did reach down to my lower back or mid back, and I got this whole Jesus look. Everybody was saying, "Oh, you look like Jesus. You look like Jesus." But I think everybody gets that when they have long hair and a beard, as long as they're not white haired and a beard. Um, but it's interesting. Yeah, I've always had. I'm a step there, so I've always had a huge forehead. I have my baby pictures. You can see the same. What people would say is my receding hairline. No, that's my massive alien forehead, and I've learned to accept it and just allow it. But it was different when I had long hair. It was definitely a whole nother ball game of acceptance. When you have long hair, your hair does fall out more, and when it's short, it somehow hangs on better or something. I don't know what it is, but when I did shave it again, it started coming in and being thicker again, and I thought I was losing it more. And it's strange. It's like up and down, and really, as discussing these symbols as we are talking about this seeming superficial stuff, it is like the following guidance I've found every day and throughout my strange journey, and a lot of it was all about just doing seemingly abstract things or unusual things to my circumstance where I'm used to, just so I can find that state of acceptance in my mind again, and do, well, what if you are this type of extreme looking or seeming person? Can you accept yourself there? Well, what if you're this type of person? Can you accept yourself there? What if you seem like to be a very angry person? What can you be accepting there? What if you're quiet and don't talk and just, and that's what I felt like guidance was doing with me. That everywhere I went, I had a little bit of a different inclination to be something else, to kind of act a different way or to feel a different way and experience a different way. And it was through that acceptance I was able to flow with it and go with it, as if different everywhere I went kind of had this different energy, different people. And I started noticing I was reflecting them in a way that brought up the same type of issues or ideas of lack of acceptance and everything. So we then got into those lessons together. It's like, I can't accept that you're like this. And I'm like, well, I if I didn't accept that I was like this, I probably wouldn't be like this, and I wouldn't enjoy my life right now. I mean, I would want to change. And I'd find that I have the option of either just accepting my reality in myself, or trying to define myself as a person like this. I could say, oh no, I've always been this way, and referencing to the past, and then try and be that person here and now. And it would feel, when I do that, it would feel like I need some of those depression pills. Jeez. And instead of just letting myself flow with it, let myself be whoever I am in this moment, whatever it is in this moment. And I've noticed that, like, in this chat with you and chat with different people, that even though I might bring in a little bit of a unique self already that's similar in all of them, I'm still somewhat talk differently, interact differently, and kind of bring a different presence every time. So I enjoy, you know, the presence that you bring, as well as the presence I bring with you.
Yeah,
So I
it's
appreciate
on.
it.
Wow, I'm getting a huge feedback.
I don't know why. I didn't change anything. Is it still
That
going?
was weird. No, it sounds like it's gone now, but that was interesting.
Sorry.
But Hangouts is interesting, actually. The whole program is so glitchy, you never know what's going to happen. But at any rate, that as you were talking there about being willing to accept yourself as you are in the moment, for me, that conjured up some ideas about Native American culture. Because in Native American culture, we refer to our life experience, our journey through this world, as our dance. We do our dance. And anybody who knows anything about dancing, who's ever done any dancing, immediately realizes that when you are dancing, you are always present. You are always in this moment. And you may be interpreting things in this moment differently than you did 5 minutes earlier, and different than what you will do 5 minutes in the future. So that really is a big, I think, source of acceptance is, just doing your dance and being concerned only about where your feet are right now, and where where your feathers are landing, and not getting caught up in anticipating, oh, I'm going to do this next, and then I'm going to do that next. To just self accept and then flow with it, and all of a sudden you become the supreme dancer, dancing across the heavens and hanging out with the cloud people. And
Yeah.
that's kind of a good place to live at.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, you can dance to the same type of music in so many different ways, and yeah, interpreting it differently. And then when the music changes, naturally you have to be, and if you're in tune with the, energy or vibration or guidance or whatever you want to call it, then naturally you're going to start dancing differently. If the beat changes, you're going to be moving slower or faster and all that stuff. That's very beautiful to think of it that way. And it's funny how you see in the spiritual community, especially Course in Miracles community, this attempts to define. I think it's the more you confine, the more likely they're to break out. It's while you tell them they're free, you teach them the freedom that they have, and then you suppress them in a way that they don't even know it's happening. Then they don't realize it's happening, and it's just conspiracy theories and all that great stuff. But then as it gets more obvious, then all of a sudden people start breaking out and fighting back. And so, yeah, you want to keep it. And it's kind of the idea of the physical body as well, in the same sense, is that once we really stop enjoying the physical body, we break out. We're like, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. We may call it death or whatever, but it can only confine you while you want it to be.
It's kind of funny how Jesus really eschewed any attempt to create any kind of kickback politically, spiritually. He didn't want to be the ringleader to an organized attempt to overthrow an existing power. And yet, wherever he went, the simple truth had the effect of shredding and causing to crumble all of the established norms in the region. So, Christianity comes along and Judaism is transformed, and there is a diaspora, and Rome falls and tries to regain its feet. And, wherever you introduce truth, then all the structures of this realm have a tendency to disassemble themselves of their own accord. It's not like you're fighting them. Truth never fights the illusion, but the illusion gets pretty much terrified at the appearance of truth.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lately I've been working on kind of defining, which it's funny, defining my religious beliefs, and it's against my religion to do this. So it's kind of a contradictory little activity. But as far as legally concerned, and having evidence that this, like my staff I carry with me is actually a religious emblem, I've been legally inclined to define my religion. And so I defined it. I named it. I'm like, if it has to be named, it would be named undefinable and expansive. And so I even started writing up these articles. I have 32 articles of belief, and I'm starting a podcast on it and everything. And the first one, it does, they're all abbreviated for layman understanding, but they get into very difficult wording. As far as the first one is like, we believe in God, but that completely misunderstands and miscues the actual understanding of it, and so it gets really intense. But I've enjoyed it, but I've felt while I've been doing it that when people ask me about my staff, because I carry it with me everywhere I go, they're like, what's with the stick, man, or what's or something, and I'm like, oh, it's a religious emblem. And when I used to have a variety of things I say depending on really who I'm talking to and just what comes to mind. And the last time was I said it's called undefinable and expansive. I'm like, what the? Now I've defined it as undefinable and expansive, and it's changed. It's like shifted into something. And like, I didn't want to define this. I didn't want to make some sort of religion. I didn't want to, I'm like breaking my own rules, and I feel it starting to confine into it. And so I'm trying to find some sort of medium of letting it be loose and letting it be free and undefined at the same time. So I see this. I'm going through this whole new experience, and I'm afraid, when I die or something, or whatever, that it could just disappear and fall into the dust, just like my shoes will. But at the same time, someone could take it and make it into a religion, and and hey, but you can't be touching things. And who knows? And I don't want it to be. It's the factor of the truth. We don't need to define it. We don't need to make it into anything. So.
Well, a lot of feedback now. And okay, now it's stopped. That's weird. When I start talking, I get a strong echo, and then it vanishes. So as I was going to say, the whole thing really reduces down to having a sense of humor. As the Society of Voltaire has proclaimed, God is a comedian playing to an audience that's afraid to laugh. So that, I think, is a summation of all of our angst and concern. It's just look at it, realize it has no reality, laugh at it, and it'll go away of its own accord. Now I've lost your sound. Oh, you've got yourself muted. There you go.
Just my son woke up and he's wanting my attention. So, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Tell him I have a few more minutes.
He's mobile, right? He can get
this
around. So
yeah. Sometimes he just pulls me into the other room and then just sits down. I'm like, what did you want? It's like, I just want you in here.
yes, your presence. I want to be acknowledged.
Yeah. He tends to make it like 45 minutes into my programs and then he starts fussing about it, or else he's fussing immediately. And, you know, it's acceptable. It's okay. I understand. He doesn't quite understand what I'm doing and why on earth, even if I do it every single day, you know, why? It doesn't make sense. But that's, you know, how a lot of people, you know, looking at other humans, other people, and just see how, you know, why do we act this way? And yet it seems to make completely perfect sense to who is acting this way. And the whole fact of, like, people think conspiracies and controlling the masses and controlling people seems to make sense and is appropriate. But then, you know, as far as us seeing, you know, beyond this dimension and experience, you know, it's just, it's a little weird, you know, it's like skewed. It's like, what? You know, it doesn't make sense. Why? The masses are in perfect control. Why do you need to control them differently?
Exactly. They're going to be who they are and do what they do, and then ultimately, eventually, we will overcome all these errors within our own consciousness, because there really is nobody out there. And the more that we focus on recognizing that and affirming that, reinforcing that within ourselves, and embracing those parts of self that appear to be, you know, unhappy or overtly too happy, or you know, during rutting season, out there doing what they need to do to create chaos and to proliferate. But all of it is segments of ourselves, and there are, right now, currently, at least in this particular reality, there are 7+ billion fragments of ourself that we are trying to reconcile. So that is a task that has an eternal pale about it almost. It's like, oh my God, we've got all this that we have to accommodate, that we have to get beyond judgment of, that we have to get beyond fear of. And so it is a profound work that has been placed in our hands. And I think that's, you know, the beauty of the Course in Miracles, is that it gives us the assurance that all of this is going to ultimately come back around and all be placed in that final space of nothingness, so that we can regain our composure and regain our sense of inner peace.
Yeah, you know, we could never have these lessons and acceptance without this place, you know, without this, you know, scale of this world and this variation and these degrees of misunderstanding and laws. And so in that way, you know, to I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful for it in the sense of, I'd never be able to forget myself in this fashion if I never came here in this form, in this world, and and then prove that I remember myself to myself. I would never be able to get that opportunity to do such a thing, and so I'm really grateful to be able to do that. Yeah.
And so the little guy is hanging out right next to you there and feeling a little bit less insecure.
Yes and no. He just brought his evening bottle to me and is asking me to fill it up with a shake, which he doesn't do until the afternoon, because we're trying to cut down on these things, but passing the time.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with giving the little guy a little extra
Yeah,
juice to operate with there. He can, and
exactly.
I'm sure you can take him out and burn that off this afternoon without any effort.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about it. We like to break the rules every now and then, mix things up around here. I think routines are not something to get stuck to. I know it helps them be happier, as psychologists say, and everything, and it makes sense. I'm happier with routines as well, but at the same time, I'm teaching a full-grown adult here how to be a full-grown adult, and I don't really believe in routines, even though I have my routines as well. But I want to be very flexible because they get broken all the time. I want to be able to accept, the new scenario, the new situation, and just allow it to happen. If I'm stuck in the habit of thinking everything has to be in routine, then I'm going to have a miserable life in this changing, constant changing place.
Yeah, routine is a pacifier. It gives us a sense of security. When we fall into doing the same things over and over and over again, that can start to set off alarm bells if you're actually paying attention, because it is in that routine that we numb ourselves down. And so that's why we do have to have a certain routine and a certain amount of structure in parenting others as well as ourselves. But we also have to be very alert to it becoming an opiate, it becoming a drug of choice, and falling into that same pattern over and over and again can really stifle your evolution in any kind of spiritual discipline.
Yeah. I feel like, it's literally going to death as well. If everything was in routine around here, it would be boring as hell, and I'm going to death. Uh, so I like to mix it up and make things a little different. All of a sudden you're doing something different. I'm not really concerned if it's fitting into the same routine or not. Sometimes it just happens to, and I'm just allowing it to happen and trying to be at my best of accepting what is in this moment of this dance and just allowing it to happen and just letting it flow, letting it flow.
Absolutely. So, um, going back to the idea of structure and routine, you came from a background of Mormonism, and they do definitely like to structure things, even right down to your underwear that you wear. So, just wondering, was that a cause of discomfort for you when you were actually in the practice of being a part of a church, being part of that kind of organization, or did it just seem natural and right at the time?
Well, it was pretty much the only thing I had as spirituality, and as far as it's hard to say because at the same time I'm in the Mormonism that's popular around here. They're not in their little communities wearing bonnets and dresses and traditional stuff, like practically being Amish. No, we're kind of in this area where it's more modern. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them today of say someone that's not and someone that is. And aside from the tattoos maybe and the piercings and even the beard, now they're getting more relaxed. They actually would say, no, you have to shave in order to be even practicing your priesthood and all this stuff. So yeah, it was uncomfortable, as in any regulations and rules and suppression is uncomfortable. And if I had my way, I would break every rule, even and just go for freedom. And in the same sense of, I got this law of gravity I have to deal with, this law of physicality, these laws of whatever that seem to be constant. I don't need to add more to it. I don't need to have a religion that adds more to it. I want a religious belief that is all about allowing out the freedom as much as possible, allowing just the natural occurrence of who we are as much as possible. And part of those belief is that when the time is ripe and ready, that even the physical laws will be broken in the same sense. So it's, in that sense, it's exciting. I was seeing and thinking about the garments, the underwear that they wear, which I never actually did. I never actually went through the whole temple to getting your endowments out. So I never actually got that far and into the whole whatever you want to call it. And so for me, well, I was thinking of that, and I was like, wow, they're more covered in their underwear than most people wear their outer clothes. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. There's that echo again. Damn. Yeah, it's coming through real strong now.
I think it's hangouts every time. Maybe it's picking. Do you have your speakers going on? Maybe
no, I'm wearing my headphones, so it couldn't be coming through my feed. So who knows what that is? But back to the discussion about underwear. I had a young friend who was a Mormon, and one day he was explaining to me about the underwear, and I just thought, wow, that's kind of amazing that there's this need for uniformity in all ranks of the organization. And, you peel off your outer clothing, which can be diverse, and you all end up wearing the same undergarments. And there's something actually kind of oddly depressing and yet at the same time highly amusing about that particular quirk. But that seems to be true with all religions. They all have their quirks, and just trying to accommodate that, I think, is when you begin to, as you're starting to awaken, that's when you begin to realize, I'm trying to put a size 12 foot into a size 8 shoe, and this probably is not going to make me happy. So that's when we start to think about abandoning all of those different organizations and start searching and struggling and striving to try and, again, come up with a definition as to what our sense of God really is, and to try and move in that direction, and at the same time find support in the journey. And so you can gain support for a certain amount of time within organizations, but ultimately you're going to land out there in the middle of the desert on your own. And you're going to have to be like Rango. You're going to have to go on into that town and fit into the environment, but still be true to your own self, be true to your own journey.
I do think of it every now and then as, they're all around me, and I even am still considered, my name is still in the church as a member, and because I've never gone in and taken it out or asked to take it out, or no one's discovered all the blasphemy I speak every day, and so they haven't excommunicated me yet. I'd rather take that route, but it's funner. Um, and with that idea, anyway, I think about it often, and going back and reading the scriptures and praying in the fashion that they have, and all these ideas of going to church. I understand the whole community and supporting each other aspect of it, but at the same time, insisting to read these scriptures every single day, it feels like, to me, is relating that to the educational system, it feels like I have to go back and learn the alphabet just so I can speak English every day. I have to learn the alphabet every day. And do I really have to learn the alphabet every day to be an English speaking person? And to relate that to spirituality is, do I really have to, obsess with the certain type of books or whatever, and get supposed inspiration from them, uh, from wars and everything, so that I can be a spiritual person today? I'm more about that evolution of spirituality and growing and expanding in that truth than I am insisting I must learn my ABCs over and over and over again. Like, I
Yeah,
don't want to
it's
be in elementary school anymore, or in this case, kindergarten.
well, and it all loops back into the fundamental duality of this zone that we exist in. And on one side of the coin, like you said, you have that support for each other, that's that presence being there for each other. But on the other hand, you have that repression of anybody going off on a tangent of their own and keeping everybody somewhat docile and part of the herd. So you just can't get away from that situation in every level of life that we experience. And that's why it's important to be in a state of forgiveness at all times, because any judgment you have, if you judge it as this is good, you're going to see the bad side. And if you judge it as that is bad, if you expand your mind a little bit, you'll see the good side in it. So
Yeah.
just keeps that wheel turning, turning, turning.
Yeah, it's whatever it's gonna be, whatever. It's funny, it sounds like you're getting into the Tao Te Ching. So have you have you read some of that now? You know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
talking about? That
yeah,
was like the second verse about, when you start determining things as good, there's things bad, and when you start determining things as ugly, then there's or beautiful, then there's more ugly things in comparison.
yeah. It's
Anyway,
a yin yang symbol, and in the heart of darkness, you have the spot of light, and in the midst of light, you have the spot of darkness. And so,
yeah.
and
And
that's what keeps well, that
the
keeps
key,
it engaged. That keeps us engaged. That keeps the journey, um, you know, unfolding. We're all waiting for what's around the next corner, and we're all excited about what the possibilities are of what we're going to
yeah.
discover or what we're going to create. But the truth is, it's just the same thing over and over again with, window dressing that makes it new.
Yeah, the key to the yin yang and what it's really talking about is that it's one circle. It has both definitions of both sides. It's still one circle. And that's kind of like coming above the battleground of the good and evil fighting each other and spinning and twirling and dancing. But it's still one circle. It's just one circle. Just accept
Yes, and
one circle.
the Native American vision or understanding, comprehension of that is the medicine wheel.
Yeah.
All life is part of one circle, and that life forms within the circle are all sacred. So it just, keeps rolling, rolling, rolling.
Sounds good. Thank you for this time, my one feathered friend. And I look forward to next week.
Yes, and hopefully by then I will have resolved some of my glitching with Google, and we'll have a less glitched up experience. But it was delightful chatting with you today, Devin.
And Tuesday, so we have a discussion with Barrett about inspiration in movies. Is that what's going to happen?
Well, it's if you're going to join us, yeah, you need to watch Groundhog Day, so it'll be fresh in your mind, because that will be the movie that we are going to take a look at through the lens of A Course in Miracles.
Sounds good. All right, I'll talk to you then. Hopefully it works out.
Perfect. Well, have a great day, and go get the little guy his pablum there.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay, bye.